Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 10 of the One Team Ayrshire podcast with myself, Adam Lyon, and as always, with Andrew Milligan and Kieran Calderwood. After the excitement and the joy of the last couple of weeks, we're a bit more mellowed tonight following our defeat, our quite heartbreaking defeat to Motherwell on Saturday. A last minute goal conceded leaves us with no points from the weekend, and we're back to 4 points from the opening three games. So we'll look back at everything that went on at Fir Park. We'll look ahead to the game against Ross County on Saturday, and then we'll pick up a few bits and pieces here and there, some positive news, some negative news, and we'll also have a wee discussion about transfer deadline day coming up, because at the time of recording, there's only about 50 hours to go to get some decent players in that we need. So all that to come in the next 20 or 30 minutes. But we'll start off with what happened at Fir Park. Obviously, Andrew Kelly going 1-0 up really early on, a really good first half from Kilmarnock. And the second half, it was as if a different team came out, wasn't it? I mean, we conceded the goal, could have gone behind earlier on. Obviously, Paul Dennis making the penalty save, and then it was just one way traffic for most of the second half, and the inevitable that I think everyone knew was coming eventually did come in the 98th minute. A really frustrating game because the game was there to be put out of sight in the first half, and then just a horrendous second half, by far and away our worst half in terms of performance of the season so far.
Yeah, absolutely quite gutting, wasn't it? I mean, after the excellent start we've had to this season, we, highlighted in last week's episode how important it was to carry on these performances, against the teams that are going to be in and around us in the league table. And obviously, as you say, first half we did that and we were able to get ourselves in front. And as you say, just perhaps, not taking those chances when they came along in the first half, came back to bite us and perhaps kind of links, to what we've been saying has been our missing part of our team for a while, getting that all important striker across the line. But as you say, second half, total different ball game in Motherwell. Get themselves back into the game, and as you say, we could have been further behind. And so obviously, so gutting to have such a last minute, goal going against us. But as you say, it had been coming, and it's a bit of a reality check in a way. I don't think we can get too down in the dumps over it because at the end of the day, we have still had a great start to the season, and it's all about how we bounce back now, going into this next weekend's game. But certainly, a bit of a reality check for us, and it shows that us still, well, those first three games, of the season have been very good from ourselves. Shows that there's still a lot to improve on as well at the same time.
Yeah, I mean, Kieran, I think Andrew hit the nail on the head there. A bit of a reality check. We don't want, as you said last week. You thought we were going to go invincible the whole season. And there we go, a week later, and you go our first loss. So I mean, yes, the start of the season's been great, and we've had results that we could never have dreamed of. But at the end of the day, this league is still very tight. We're not world beaters all of a sudden. There is going to be really close games most weeks, especially away from home. And these things can happen, but it was maybe just the manner of the defeat on Saturday that really frustrated Kelly fans because we were so good for the first half, could have scored more than one goal, could have got further ahead and had the game out of sight, and then to lose the goals that we did, and especially the last one, we're attacking, trying to find the winner, and they go up the other end on a counter attack and score with essentially the last kick of the ball. Maybe a bit of naivety there, and shows that this team does still have things to learn despite the strong start.
Absolutely. And I think I'm down from cloud 9 now. I'm back to more reality. That was my own kind of little private just thoughts there. Maybe, but no. The dream's over now. Back to the usual, but it's that way. It's as you're saying, the most devastating part of it is the way that we did lose. It's not the fact that we lost. We're Kelly fans. We're used to losing on the road. It's not that big a deal. It's just the fact of how unfortunate it was, but. Not to copy too much from what Andrew said, as you were mentioning, you hit the nail right on the head with the description of it. It's one of those things. It's a good lesson to learn this early on because had we kept on going and going the way we were, albeit we would have got a lot more points, some convincing results, etc. But we would have had this harsh reality check at some point where we've just come crashing to the ground, because that was the first time out with the cup matches the team have conceded, the first time they've had to have their backs to the wall and try and rely on each other to push forward and get more. And that wasn't there. That side of the team isn't quite developed yet. Obviously, they've been used to the high fly and feeling they're not used to the, oh, we're down here, what do we do now? So as I was saying, it's one of those things. I'd rather lose early on and then learn as we progress rather than the other way around, because it's a bit more of a recipe for disaster if this kind of lesson doesn't come soonish.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think we can all agree, Andrew, that the recruitment this summer has been great. I don't think anyone's denying that, but I think the lack of squad depth at the minute was no more obvious than on Saturday, where Motherwell made changes at half time, effectively won them the game. The influence that the likes of Peyton had, especially coming up and scoring the winner. But a lot of fans were critical after the game of Derek McInnes not reacting to those changes that Motherwell made quick enough and trying to do something to change the game. But in fairness, you look at the bench that we had, there wasn't much on there, was there, in terms of game changers? You're looking at who's there, Fraser Murray, Innes Cameron, Liam Poworth, Liam Donnelly, and then the bench was sort of filled out by a lot of youth players who, yes, well, we all like to see them on the bench and we want to see them feature. They're not going to come on and change the game, so it really did highlight the sort of need for a few more players, especially up the top end of the park, where players can come on for the likes of Kyle Vassell, and even Armstrong and Kennedy, who really flagged in that second half, you have to say. Obviously, Armstrong in particular went on to sort of be the main cause of losing the final goal and giving away the penalty as well. But a real sort of lack of depth up the top end, especially. And, just thinking about the transfer window coming up, that's something we probably need to address relatively soonish.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, that is such an important thing to have. We can't have, players who just feel comfortable in their position and, feel like maybe even subconsciously in a way where their performance dips ever so slightly, and there's not that player who Derek can bring on off the bench, and you can have confidence in coming off the bench and making a change and having an impact in the game. We don't have that particularly at the moment. As you say, that the bench does lack a bit of inspiration. So that squad depth is vitally important, and as you say, it is lacking. But you've got to say, if as you said at the start of the episode, with 50 hours left in the transfer window, how much more movement can we have coming in? That is the worry. These next 50 hours could be hugely important to determine where our season's going to go. But I think you make a good point with squad depth, but also perhaps even the age of the squad as well. We've got a very young squad, very few experienced players, certainly not many over the age of 30, which often is a positive thing as well. But I suppose in terms of games like that one against Motherwell, perhaps, perhaps a little bit of naivety and some of the youth players as well, the players who don't have as much experience playing at the top level of Scotland. Perhaps that shows through a little bit in games like that, where you got to manage the game better, and as you say, also getting caught out in that. The winner comes from that counter attack, as you say. So even perhaps squad depth and the amount of youth players we've got in the squad, perhaps two factors that will have some sort of impact in our season.
Absolutely. Obviously, Kieran, looking back to the start of that game, we were hoping that it was going to be the same team for the fourth game in a row, which would have been quite unbelievable. But obviously, the main omission there was Corey and Dava, who obviously picked up that injury against Celtic in the cup game. Looks like he's going to be out, as we found out after the Motherwell game, for quite some time. Some people saying 6 weeks, some people saying longer than that. A real blow for Kilmarnock, isn't it? I mean, we wouldn't have thought this 4 weeks ago, but he now looks so crucial to the way that we play. Obviously, playing in that vital sort of left back, left wing back slot, and you could see on Saturday, Matty Kennedy coming back into that position. Tried his best, but it just didn't really work, did it? You need Matty Kennedy further up the pitch, and having him back there in that position where Dava would usually be, it just changed the whole dynamic of the team, and it just didn't seem to work. So he's going to be a big miss.
Absolutely. And with the missing of Corey and Dava, it's almost felt like Kilmarnock were playing with one arm tied behind their back. We were kind of like just making ourselves limp across the finish line. It's not like we don't have players there that could have easily slotted in and out. The change being Vassell came in for Ndaba, we went a bit more attacking. you would have thought that maybe Vassell and Watkins up top was a decent enough trade-off, and then Kennedy could go back into that little slot there. But he's not a player that you want to force track back to track back. He's an attractive player. He's a creative player. He needs to be further forward with as few defensive responsibilities as possible. That's why it was really good to have Dava behind him, because obviously Dava natural position is at centre half, but can quite easily play left back, left wing back. Quite happy to go forward, quite happy to sit when he needs to. Like, you're not going to get too much argument out of that. We had a player on the bench, Davies, who's natural left back, could have quite easily slotted in here. We didn't have to throw the kitchen sink at it that early on, in my opinion. I don't think Vassell's ready to start again, and it seemed strange to change the system that was working for us, because the system was four out and out defenders with Armstrong tracking back, was my kind of understanding of what we've seen, to make a kind of five back on defense, but mostly a four back when we're in control of the ball and going forward. And then there's just such a drastic change. We're mentioning about how rare it is for consistency in a team, but the first time that there's any kind of damage to lineup, it's just a drastic change of plan. And then we've seen the first half was obviously a really good half. We were 1-0 up. We were quite comfortable, quite cruising. We thought, oh, business as usual here. Maybe there's not really much to worry about. Maybe, we're going to be one of the top dogs this season. Not saying that we're not going to be still. We've only lost one game. It could be the making of our season, could be the breaking of our season. Depends how we bounce back against Ross County coming up this weekend. But definitely it was maybe a little bit rash to think that we could just throw an attacker on the pitch and things would be the exact same as they were before. So just as you were saying, amplifying how important Dava is.
Yeah, I mean, Peter mentions Theo Vassell there. Andrew, clearly, I think to everybody that was there and everyone who was watching as well, brought in far too early to start the game again. Really, really ineffective. Didn't really do a whole lot in the game. The one real chance he had late on just skied it completely over the bar and well into the back of the stand. So that's clearly still a sort of area that we're looking to strengthen. More rumours tonight about the potential for Sam Cosgrove coming up, led to believe that there's offers of a 1 year loan deal on the table from us and from Motherwell. Although I think he was on the bench for Birmingham, tonight. Would that be the kind of player that you would think would really come in and improve us and give us something different? Obviously, had a fantastic goal record up at Aberdeen. Played under Derek McInnes before, so that would seem like a sort of perfect fit if we could try and get him in.
Yeah, I mean, it certainly seems like our best option at the moment. It's certainly the name that's been touted around for, I was going to say weeks, but almost, over a month at this point. His name's been certainly the one linked with us the most. But you wonder the longer it goes on, well, this should be a deal that is spoken about a lot, but never actually comes to anything. Obviously it depends on Birmingham City, but teams like Birmingham City, they'll hold on right until the end of the window. Perhaps they're trying to get someone in, themselves before they feel like they can let them go out on loan or whatever. So, maybe this is one of the deals that could be done late on, but I think you're totally right. We need him or someone, of that quality to come in. Because you say, Hillsell, I mean, we can't awfully blame him. He's been carrying an injury for months at the end of last season. He needed to get that sorted up, and it meant, he missed pre-season and practically all of the cup games. So, he was very little, time on the pitch in this opening part of the season so, starting him from the start of that game against Motherwell was obviously a mistake and it's something he's not ready for at the minute. I'm sure he will get back to his best in time, but in the meantime, we're gonna have to get somebody in, and I hope, I've put my eggs in Sam Cosgrove's basket, hoping it comes off for over a month now, because I feel like it could be something that does work out for us. Obviously, as you say, has that partnership with Derek McInnes from their time at Aberdeen, and was a very solid striker for Aberdeen. Obviously not quite hit the heights down south, but hopefully if he can come back up to us, and back up to the Scottish League, perhaps he could refine that form of old, and it would be certainly the type of player that we're looking for.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, on to more positive news. We heard earlier today that both Matt Kennedy and Brad Lyons have been called up for the Northern Ireland squad. I think this will be Matt Kennedy's had 3 caps before. He obviously played for Scotland at youth levels before committing to Northern Ireland. This will be Brad Lyons' first call up, if not his chance to get his first caps. In any case, Kieran, I mean, very well deserved by both of them. Maybe coming as a bit of a surprise. Obviously Brad Lyons, he's maybe had 7 good games for Kilmarnock in a row, and he's got the call up. And Kennedy, obviously, he's been in the squad before, and he's obviously in good form just now. But it's brilliant to see, isn't it? It's brilliant for Kilmarnock to have players in the international cell. We've not really had it since sort of Steve Clarke, and we were getting a number of players called up for Scotland. Obviously, quite a good history with call-ups to the Northern Ireland squad. Obviously, Jordan Jones has been in there every so often. Kyle McGuinness was in there as well. So, brilliant to see, and it just sort of raises our profile at the end of the day, doesn't it? And good for the players to go away and get that kind of experience, and they can only come back and benefit us at the end of the day.
Literally, word for word, what you're saying there. It's that thing. Although it's not the most important thing, it's a nice kind of staple to have attached to your club. You've got two players representing their nation internationally, big occasion, big games. They're there for them, albeit not the biggest opposition they're getting called up for, but you can only play who's in front of you. It's a relatively competitive team as well, the Northern Irish side. So it's good that they're there. Will they play? Will they just be there to kind of make up the numbers? Different kind of question, but you can't argue. Although saying it's a kind of short spell of games that both of them have impressed over, they've been impressive. They've by far been man of the match candidates week in, week out for Kilmarnock. So just to kind of reiterate what you said, well deserved call up. And just kind of flashing back to the days, as you mentioned, under Steve Clarke, when we had, was it Brophy and Finlay both going up, as well as Greg Taylor as well, while he was still with us. So we've not had any international call-ups since then. Maybe Tishbola. I don't know if Tishbola got grabbed by the DR Congo a couple of times in his short stint here, but it's a good feeling, as long as they don't get injured while they're away. So fingers crossed for that one. Maybe they'll get a little bit of international minutes. It's only going to perk up your spirits, and hopefully they can bring that back to the league with them.
Yeah, absolutely. And before the international break, Andrew, we've also got this big game against Ross County on Saturday. We don't want to go back to the whole home form, away form thing again, but obviously home form, as ever, is going to be so important. Ross County started the season okay, had a couple of good results, and we'd hope that we'd be sort of aiming a bit higher than where they are this season, certainly with our start so far, but so important that we get back on the right track and bounce back. Too many times last season, we'd go on runs of 4, 5, 6 games without a win. It's got to be different this season, doesn't it? You hope it's going to be different, just the way the team is, the character the team seems to have already this season. Get the loss out of the way and bounce back with a win, and then move on from there. It's got to be the 3 points on Saturday.
Yeah, it absolutely has to be. As you say, Ross County haven't had the worst start to the season. They got a good victory against St Johnstone, albeit St Johnstone don't look, the best side at the moment. They just about got through against Airdrie, in the cup, although Airdrie started the season very well, and they look a decent side as well. Obviously, and then playing the two Old Firm sides, so they've had a difficult start to the season, and they'll see this as an opportunity to get some more points on the board. And it's up to us to make sure that doesn't happen, because we need to bounce back. As you say, I don't think anything except from a win will be really acceptable on Saturday. I think the worries will start to kick in if we don't get that win on Saturday, because it wasn't actually too bad of a reaction. Kilmarnock fans were pretty positive after the Motherwell defeat. Are trying to remain optimistic that we've still had a good start. It's just about all how about we bounce back on Saturday against Ross County. And I've got faith that we'll be able to do that. As you say, home form has always been solid enough, and I'm sure there'll be a decent crowd there. People back from summer holidays now, with the schools going back, and of course not facing either of the Old Firm sides. I'm sure will encourage people along as well, and the positive results we had in those games. So hopefully, a decent crowd in, and something to get behind the players and push them on to the victory, because it's much necessary to bounce back and get another 3 points on the board. So if we can go into international break, we'll be pretty happy, excluding that Motherwell result to the start of the season we've had. So I'd like to hope we'll be able to get across the line. Of course, it will be a difficult game, as it always is against Ross County. Well, Mackay also his side set up well, but I would like to hope that Kilmarnock will have enough to get the 3 points on Saturday.
Yeah, absolutely. And if you said to Kelly fans before the season, if we could have taken 7 points from the first 4 games, if we end up winning on Saturday, we're certainly taking it. I think we would have thought the points would come in different games than they perhaps have. But that would represent a really good start, especially with the opening 2 fixtures, which were really difficult. And as into that, the progression in the cup against Celtic as well. So Kieran, obviously, the big question now is for Saturday. What team does he go with? Does he keep with the same team Does he go with Vassell again, even though it's quite clear that he's not ready yet, but we don't really have any other options? Or does he go back to with just Watkins up front, then maybe get another body in midfield, or bring Davies in at left back or left wing back? How would you sort of see it going?
Well, as I was mentioning earlier, to do with like the kind of Motherwell game, the change that I would have made would have been Davies in for Ndaba, almost like for like. I know Davies, he's a younger guy, he's a smaller guy, so he's not kind of the same stature as Ndaba. He's not going to have the same kind of centre half responsibilities as Ndaba. But it's someone that's defensively inclined, someone that's got a bit of pace about them that can run up and down the line. They're not bothered about coming back. And I'm pretty sure he'd be absolutely fine going forward as well. I love Kyle Vassell. He's well earned, the armband well earned place in most Kilmarnock fans' hearts, I'd imagine. But I say it with all the love I can. He's not quite ready yet, so I think it should be left up to Watkins up top, unless a mystery suitor comes in the last few hours of this transfer window. But for the time being, I think let Vassell get back, bring him on as a sub, get a few more minutes under his belt, just kind of build him up a bit more again, because it's that way. It's unfair to him because not only is it putting him under a lot of strain, a lot of pressure, both like kind of his physical condition as well as like just kind of mentally thinking he's got to like not only play well but watch himself that he's not going to injure himself at all with anything that he's doing. It's painting a bad picture in fans' eyes as well, because even all of us, I'm pretty sure, I speak for all three of us when we say we're quite a big fan of Kyle Vassell, but we're saying that he's not like what he usually is. He's a kind of an image of his former self. He's not like the final deal, final product yet. So give him a bit of time to build himself back up instead of just kind of pushing him through and hoping that something sticks. It just seems a little bit unfair to him. So I'd bring Davies in and start walking solo up top.
Absolutely, that sounds good to me. So go on to the bit that everyone hates, the score predictions, because I don't think we ever get them right. Andrew, we'll start with you, your full-time result and your goal scorers, please.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not too sure where this optimism has come from, I'll be honest with you, but I'm going to go 3-1 Kilmarnock. And the goal scorers, I'll go with Kyle McGuinness, Dan Armstrong, and Watkins.
Here.
I'm going to say 2-1 Kilmarnock, but Ross County are going to score first, and it's going to be a kind of fight back. Two goal scorers. Going to say Kennedy's going to grab one and Watkins.
Right, I'm going to go 3-0 Kilmarnock, back to the clean sheet, and we'll go with Armstrong with two, at least one penalty, and we'll go with the defender, Stuart Finlay. We'll get a header and score again. So, all pretty optimistic predictions there, you have to say, but we have to be optimistic, certainly, to look ahead to Saturday. So, without further ado, thanks everyone for listening and watching episode 10. We'll be back next week. We'll look back at the Ross County game, hopefully look back at a busy end to the transfer window, which of course closes at midnight on Thursday, and hopefully we'll see some incomings sometime soon, and then we'll look ahead to the next round of games as well, and the international break, which of course we've got a few Killie representatives playing for Northern Ireland. So without further ado, thanks everyone for listening and watching, and we'll see you next time.